Hockey is a Canadian sport, but is it truly accessible to all Canadians? Today on Ideas on Point, we speak to Dampy Brar, who has played hockey professionally in Alberta. He also won the Willie Community Hockey Leader Award from the NHL in September 2020, and also co-founded Apna Hockey organization that provides support for the South Asian hockey community and other hockey players from minority communities. We talked to Dampy today to learn of his journey as a South Asian hockey player in Alberta and his vision for hockey in years to come. Please stay tuned. Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Roop Rai, and you're watching Mull over Mondays on Ideas on Point, which is brought to you by TCSAN. We're live Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on Facebook and YouTube at TCSAN 2. And you can also follow us on Instagram for behind-the-scenes updates at TCSAN 2 as well. Before I introduce my guest for today, Dampy Brar, a quick message from the sponsor of our weekly giveaway. This week, TCSAN's giveaway is brought to you by Authentic Desi, an Indian grocery store in Calgary that offers you free delivery. You can place your order online at calgarydesistore.com. For the giveaway, you could win $50 to spend at either one of the 2 Authentic Desi locations in Calgary, but only if you like this video and like and follow TCSAN's Facebook or Instagram page. So please go ahead. Hit that like button and get entered into a draw for $50. And don't forget, calgarydesistore.com. And you could also WhatsApp them at 403-477-7345. And that's how you win $50. Like and share this video, like and follow the Facebook page, like and follow the Instagram page. And of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Without your support, we won't be able to grow this channel. And we want to have more of these conversations like the one we're going to have today. Let me welcome my guest onto the screen. Just give me a second here. There we go. Hi, Dampy.
Hi, how you doing?
I am very well, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time today. Really appreciate it.
No problem. I just got off the ice with my kids about half an hour ago, and now I'm here, so it's good.
Well, I just had pizza half an hour ago, and yeah. I'm here, and chicken wings to go with it.
That's a good diet. If you
All right, so I'm going to start with the most important question, because you reminded me day before yesterday that you were not born in Alberta. You were born in Sparwood, BC, and you played your minor hockey there in Sparwood and Fernie from age of 5 to 15, and then you played junior hockey in Sparwood, and then you played junior hockey in Fernie at the age of 17 and 18. But you moved to Alberta because you are in Alberta now, and we've claimed you. You are an Albertan. So when did you move here?
We moved here in 1996, I believe, in the summertime. I was trying out for Team Canada's Olympic program, and my parents were still in BC. We bought the house, and they made food. My mom made food for us, and I kept it very low key that I was trying out for Team Canada, because you just don't. I just wanted to kind of have a motivation of just doing it myself and not a lot of people knowing, and just be focused on that. So so we moved up here, and then we haven't left yet. So that's good.
And you married here as well.
Yeah, I married. The first time I have ever turned on a TV in the new house that we bought was my buddy was helping me, and it was an Indian girl on TV, and then I was like, "Who's this?" And they're like, "Oh, because Sparrow, we didn't have Indian channels. Like we don't have back then, 1996, we didn't have channels like." That the channels that we have now, or satellite or anything. And so it was Gurdeep Dhaliwal, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great that you see an Indian girl on TV and stuff. And I didn't know that the person, my best friend, he's from Sparta as well. He's helping me. He goes, yeah, I'm dating her younger sister. So he ended up marrying her, and I ended up marrying the older sister. So it was a pretty unique situation. So.
Yeah, I remember I was telling you before we started is my first memory of you or hearing your name was when Gurdeep and you got married, because everyone knew Gurdeep. Like she was the only Indian girl on TV on 94 I can't remember, 94.7 FM. And then there was a Wednesday night TV show as well. So everybody knew Gurdeep. All of us looked up to her. And I was friends with her cousin at the time. And then when you guys got married, that's how we heard that you guys were marrying. And I went home. I told my mom that Gurdeep is marrying a professional hockey player. And my mom looks at me and then she goes, hockey player? Eki hunda? What do you mean hockey player? That's not a career. That's not something that you do for khedda hona, shakli khedda hona, but he must be doing something else. And I'm like, no, he is a hockey player. So let's start with that. Let's start with the assumptions, or let's start with the perception of hockey or sports in general in the South Asian community.
I think that's why we started Apna Hockey, and I think we're educating our family members about, or our community about hockey. I got that a lot too. They were like, are you playing for money? Or are you playing for fun? Because a lot of people don't know about, what happens at the age of 14, 15, what levels of hockey that you need to play at a certain level. So when I actually, it was kind of funny because I was over at somebody's house, a good friend of mine, and I told him in August I'm going to play hockey in the States again. And he goes, "Oh, are you going again?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to go play hockey and hope to make it another higher level." And he's like, "Are you getting paid?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been getting paid for the last 3 years." And the whole house went silent. And for one, I don't think they realized that. They thought it was just out of, I'm playing just out of interest or something to do or whatever, just like how your mom, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So even in our close family friends, I kept it I didn't want to broadcast it that I was getting money and this and that, because if they asked me kind of in depthly, then I would tell them. But I didn't want to kind of showcase it and too much, because, in our culture, there's sometimes they get a little jealousy and a little, oh, पैसे बनाई ਜਾਂਦਾ to US पता कितने पैसे बनाऊगा पता नहीं उते बंगला गाड़ी होगी आएंजो. So I kept it very kind of on the low key and stuff. And some of my close friends, they knew that I was doing it for, number one was to get as high as a level of hockey as possible. Now, obviously, the eventual goal was to play in the NHL or get a chance. It's not that easy. And number two was to get the hockey knowledge, because I knew later on in my life that I'll need this experience to give back to the community.
So how did you first start in hockey? Of course, you needed your parents' support, and hockey is an expensive game. So not just support, you needed their money as well. So how did you first start in hockey, and what was your parents' reaction to you playing hockey?
So I grew up in Sparwood, so there's a lot of Apna kids that were playing hockey, ice hockey. I believe there's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 kids that were playing minor hockey that were older than me. And so obviously in the small town of Sparwood, all the Apnas knew each other, and they're like, Dampy Hockey Chalado, right? And in front of my house, we lived all in duplexes. So there was all Apnas in those duplexes, and the kids would play road hockey in front of our house. And then I would go in the basement. My parents bought me a plastic stick, a plastic puck, and then there's like a milk crate, and I would just shoot at it and just kind of replicating what the Apna kids were doing outside. So when one of their families goes, "Why don't you put Dampy in hockey? We already put our kid in hockey and see how he does." And so my parents liked the wrestling, like WWE style wrestling. They were more interested in that. And then, but my dad was a sportsman back in India, so he played volleyball, did kabaddi and stuff. So he was like, "Okay, ठीक है, आप थोड़े जवाब लगे भी hockey जो, like, well, I'll put my kid in there." And so first 2 years were just learning how to skate and learning about hockey. And then my third year, I really took off. I ended up playing with the older kids, and that's when my parents were like, "Okay, this is good." And from then on, I would say from the time that they put me in hockey to this day, they continue to support me in hockey with obviously Apna Hockey, and even my kids. They're always there whenever they have tournaments, games, even practices. They'll come out. So to have a support system like my parents, I don't think anybody. 99% of the population didn't have that, and I had it, and that's what helped me get to where I got to.
And what were the challenges that you faced along the way, along your journey to be where you are today? If you can name a few incidents.
Yeah, I think there's challenges like for any hockey player, right? First of all, you need parents that buy into hockey, and I think from that era, my parents didn't realize that I would get to this level, right? They like right now, there's so much education on hockey, like the NHL, all the teams, because there's Google, there's online, there's apps, everything. There's you can be from India and start a family here, and within 2 years or a year, you'll know everything. You can get the knowledge of how to put your kid in hockey, how to register. My parents didn't, so but they had the Sahara of other Apnes that played hockey. So one of my good friends, he actually just passed away in 2nd of January. He's the one that taught me how to skate. And it was comfortable because he's another Apna kid, and he wanted to teach, and he's 5 years older, and he got me into hockey, got me into skating. But the biggest challenge was like getting parents to put you in hockey. Then as I got to play on competitive teams, there's so much travel, right? So my dad worked in the mine, just like every other dad in Sparwood, and other Apne families would help out. All the Gore families or the white families would help out with me, getting me to hockey games or practices. So the hockey is pretty unique. It becomes a good family, not just with the Apnes, but with everybody else. So they all helped. And the biggest challenge I think for me, was for my parents to be like, they want to help me through and through, right? And there's a lot of Apne kids that played hockey and they just stopped. Either the parents didn't want to put forward the effort. Money is always the case, and also if your kid is not excelling, or you think that he's not going to be playing up there, a lot of parents will just say no, just play school sports, play basketball, play volleyball, do track. And I still did that. I still did all the school sports, but parents were very, very key to my support and me going on further.
The narrative that you often hear in Canada for hockey is that for South Asian players, especially, that South Asian players, they receive fewer opportunities and less recognition despite their high performance or stat output. Did you experience anything like that, like any systemic, I would say, racism?
I guess I dealt with racism from opposition, and I dealt with that. I think one of the situations I dealt with was it was my second year. I was 15 years old. I led the league and my team in scoring. I had 160 points, and there was a camp. They take the best 20 players to go to this tryout camp from our region, not just Sparwood, but like neighboring, probably 20 towns. And I didn't get put on that list. And because one of the coaches or general managers from another team that we rivaled against, he said, "Oh, he's just all about points. He's not about playing a defense, or he's not like that." So the people that were choosing, like, "Oh, okay, then we won't choose him." So I did deal with that. And then one of my coaches, his name is Larry Parker, and he made sure that they came out to scout, to watch me play. And so you dealt a little bit of like that. There was not as much, I think, being the top player on a team, or the top two players, or let's say the top player. I was always captain of the team. It kind of eliminated too much racism, right? But when I played against opposition, some of the teams, they would call me racial slurs. They will say things to get me off my game. And when you're younger, you don't know how to deal with it, because you don't like hearing those words. And the expression on their faces weren't like, they're not saying anything nice. So it was those are some of the racial challenges I faced. And I think even away from hockey, I would face some racial challenges as well. And we played road hockey, and we played with the older kids. I would play kids with 4 or 5 years older, and I did pretty good. And they would push me around, and they would say stuff, and negative stuff. And if that were to happen in this era, I think it would be a different situation. But you kind of deal with it, you absorb it, and at the end of the day, you just keep striving of what you want to do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because now you work with a lot of younger people, a lot of, you're coaching hockey right now. So do you think they experience the same level of racism or racial slurs thrown their way at all? Or do you think it has changed?
The racism is still there. They're on hockey. There's still, remember, it all starts from the top up, right? We won't talk about the NHL right now, but like even in our associations, 98% are Caucasians that make decisions, or coaching, or scouting. So I heard a lot of that. I think even before Apna Hockey, I think I heard a lot of family friends that it's not about making the top team. I think people fail to realize that it's not about making to the AAA team or the top PV1 team or Atom 1 team. It's kids getting marginalized because they're East Indian. If there's a player, a Caucasian player or an Indian player, they always pick the non-Indian player first, right, to make the higher level team. Or, like I said, it doesn't have to be the top team. And some of the comments that the coaches and some of the scouts make are negative towards the other cultures playing. And when it comes back to the parents like, why go through the headache? Because the chances of making to the NHL is very, very low, very, very slim. So why go through the headache, and let's do a sport where more of our culture is playing, such as basketball or soccer or martial arts, and those are all great sports, but that's where parents get disappointed at some of the treatment they get. And they just, instead of dealing with it, they just walk away. And if they try dealing with it, they have to deal with everybody, right? It's not just, it's the whole system that they have to deal with. And now with our hockey program, and we have Hockey Alberta has just hired a person of a Smiley culture, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's going to help out with all that kind of stuff as well. And it's the face of hockey is slowly changing, but is there racism in hockey to this day? Yeah, there 100%. You know, I heard it. I hear some of the comments people make, and through parents and myself, and slowly it is changing. But if you walk away without speaking up, then that's never a good thing.
And it's not just even racial slurs. Like, racism goes deeper than that. Like you said, this the coaches, the way they talk to the players, they might be discouraging. And also, I read somewhere equipment, the hockey equipment, for example, someone's wearing a turban, it might not fit them correctly. Like, I read this was a couple of years ago. I can't recall the entire story, but even minor things like that, I think they are a hindrance in pursuing a career in hockey. And of course, the expense. A lot of immigrant families are not able to afford hockey like someone who's been here for generations can. So yeah. I think there are multiple, barriers. But is that why you started Apna Hockey?
Well, I think like Lally Tour started it, and I joined, and we had similar stories. So Lally felt that he was, because of discrimination, because of racial situations, he didn't get a chance to play at the level that he can play at, right? And here I am. I faced racial discrimination, but I was in a small town where parents, and because I was more of a star player, it was kind of like the coaches were more on my side, right? So I didn't face exactly what he faced. And so he decided to start this whole program up. And then when I joined, he knew about me, and he was very, very happy that I jumped on board. And now, obviously, winning the award, we progressed very quickly in the 2.5 years that we're together to get to where we got to. So Apna Hockey is going to help with the education of the game. So a lot of Apnas that don't know about the game, they'll call me and they'll discuss, like the Calgary Hitmen. I think when we did the Diwali night, a lot of the parents didn't know that the players that play WHL are from 16 to 20. They thought they were professional, right? Just because with all the equipment, you don't realize it. But for me, I can see it from a person, how they skate, body structure, and even obviously when I was younger, I knew what WHL meant, right? And so parents are now getting more knowledge, and yeah, like I there's 2 Brar families. They have 2 kids. I'm getting them into hockey, like just working with them. And they were asking me like, where we want to get equipment, but we don't want to spend all the money. So there's a secondhand store, Second Chance Sports. And I have a good relationship with them. Both of the guys that helped run the store played high level hockey, and I called them beforehand and I said, okay, I'm going to come in with this family. So, having me explain and assist them with the hockey equipment, where if 2 people's hockey equipment would probably cost around $1,500, they got everything for $400. Right. And now, because they want to try the game, they want to just experience it. They don't know how long they're going to play for. So there's different avenues that are out there. So, Apna people just hear. Another thing is that here, hockey equipment is very, very expensive. Well, it is if your kid's playing at a higher level, right? If you're starting off, there's clothing, if you're low income, there's the Jim Shepard, he runs the Calgary Sports Equipment Bank, and you can get equipment from there. Just reaching out and asking for help, it's there, right? And another thing is hockey is it takes a lot of time, right? It's not, you have to be there 45 minutes before practice, and practice is hour and 15, then they get undressed and they come home. So it's not like dropping off somebody at Northeast Sportsplex for basketball. He gets out of the car, goes play basketball. Dad knows when to come in, and it's not as easy, right? But the equipment is expensive. Hockey sticks are no less than $100 for higher level hockey players, and but like I said, there's other agencies out there that do help with equipment. We're going to do an equipment drive hopefully in March or April of this year, and collect equipment and help Apnas with distributing the equipment that people are going to donate.
So one of the criticisms that Apna Hockey, I have heard it, is that starting an organization like Apna Hockey, it may segregate the minority communities further. How would you combat that?
I think I haven't heard anything like that. People have asked questions. I've had hockey parents from different backgrounds. Is it just for South Asians? Anytime I do a hockey session, it's not just for Apna, right? If the focus is on Apna, right? Apna because to help, right? I can speak Punjabi. That helps with a lot of families that are new to hockey and or even born and raised here. It just helps with talking to their dada dadi about hockey or nana nani about hockey. I can sit there and explain it, and then I'm an example of it, so they can, I played the game. I haven't really heard too much about, this is going to segregate and this is going to really provide like friction between non-Indians and Indians. If anything, I've gotten praise. Lali and I have gotten praise that's there. At least you're out there. If you look at basketball, LeBron James does so much for his community and the Black community. He gives out, and it doesn't get showcased that much. He gives out scholarships. He does this, and somebody goes to him like, "Well, you only do that for the Black community." He's like, "Yeah, I can't because I have the capacity to. I'd rather help them." And he really focuses on his. But he goes, "I've never segregated. If he those scholarships are not just there for Black, they're for other people as well. It's up to them." So I think when you look at a player like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, how he had his basketball program, really advocating for girls in basketball with his daughter and all that, you learn from that players are at that level. It's the vision that people see. And for me, I think in Calgary, I have pretty good respect with parents that are Indian, non-Indian, Chinese, Vietnamese, Russian. I deal with a lot, and I think one thing they say is at least you care about your community and you care about other people as well. So I've never left any other community. I would never be like not disrespectful to anybody else because it could be one white kid with 20 East Indian kids. They're all the same. At the end of the day, you're playing hockey, and hockey should unite people, not segregate. So like I said, I've never heard too much about it. I've had conversations about it, but nobody has really pointed a finger and said, okay, you're doing something that's going to cause friction in between communities.
And also, I think it's important. From when I heard of Apna Hockey, my first thought about it was where I could feel comfortable going and having this conversation with you to learn more about the sport, because I don't know anything about that sport, or someone whose kid may be interested in hockey, but they don't know who to talk to. So you've provided this platform where people feel comfortable to talk to someone in the language that they understand, as opposed to, I live very close to Vivo, so there is a hockey, of course, there's hockey teams, and I have friends whose kids play there, and it's like you said, it's mostly all white, and it's a very different culture. It's a very different lifestyle that none of us has been exposed to. And I see how intense, like how engaged parents are in their kids' hockey. Like they wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. and they're taking the kids to hockey. It's like a family event and family sport every weekend. And I believe you do the same with your children now too.
Yeah, the 6 o'clock practices are only there for a short period of time, right? When they're young, and that's the best time for those young kids to learn because they get up early, right? So not all practices are at 6. So that's why I tell parents is like one of my good friends, he lives in Airdrie, and he's like, oh, I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I'm like, it's only a short period of time, and there's a stigma of hockey, early morning, cold, all that. Yeah, but when you see your son or daughter, and I have both. I have a son and a daughter going out, playing, making friends, having fun, coming into the dressing room, talking, interacting. There's more than just practice. It's not just hockey. No, the hockey brings so many intangibles like teamwork, work ethic, organization, peer interaction, discipline, being on time. So when you see your kid go through those types of life skills at a young age, that's going to help them later on, right? And I think with Apna Hockey, our mandate is not just to develop kids to play in the NHL. Our main mugsit for hockey, for Apna Hockey, is to help the kids and also help them become well-rounded individuals, which every parent wants. You want your kid to be confident, have a high self-esteem, and not be too shy, and be expressive, and be confident in their own skin. And I think that's where a lot of parents miss the point on hockey, is they think it's just a sport. Even other sports, they're like, oh, it's just soccer, or just basketball, or just hockey. There's so many intangibles, so many things you learn from the game that needs to be highlighted more than just the game itself.
So you busted a couple myths already. That equipment doesn't have to be expensive all the time, and hockey is not just at 6 a.m. every morning. So these are the myths that people do accept. I mean, whether it's truth or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we like it or not, it's out there, and people believe that, and that does become a hindrance from people even exploring the idea of putting their kids into hockey. And also, if we don't go into sport, if we run away because we're afraid of getting in there and changing things up, things are not going to change. So I'm glad that you were doing that. I'm glad that you're making that effort.
Right.
Them.
Yeah, like even like parents, like when they put their kids in hockey, like look how well we've done in every industry in Calgary or Canada, right? We're in the real estate industry. We're in home building. We have CEOs of company. We have families that own breweries. We're in politics. You're in politics, and we have counselors that are ethnic and Punjabi or whatever. It doesn't have to be South Asian, right? We are in every industry. We have doctors, lawyers, pharmacists. We own businesses, liquor stores, convenience stores, gas stations, and what we do is we put ourselves out there to do that. When it comes to your kids' sports, all some of the associations, because I was with the Simons Valley Association, so in Vivo, we live in the Northwest here. And they're saying that you guys put your kids in hockey, but then you don't want to volunteer. And that doesn't mean on the ice or coach. That means like jersey parent, or a manager, or a co-manager, or some kind of volunteer position. And once you get involved, you realize it's not a full-time position. You have fun because your kid's part of it. And so when my son first started playing hockey 78 years ago, I put my name down as an assistant coach, and I ended up being kind of like a head coach. But my wife goes, "I want to be a manager," and a little bit in my back of my mind, I go, right? But I'm thinking, well, if she wants to be manager, why not? And she managed his first year and second year. And it's like looking for tournaments to play. It's fundraisers and stuff. It's actually fun. Like it's good to be involved. And that's where I think Apne sometimes lacked. In the last 3 years, I see more head coaches that are Apne, assistant coaches that are Apne. So in Vivo, so my Sadhu and my good friend Sandy Brar, like Cam here, Fahim, there's another gentleman, I can't remember his name, but there's 5 out of the 6 coaches were Apne or Brown. And it was nice to see that. And they're all involved, and they're all helping out and stuff. So the face of hockey will change if you get involved, right? If we're involving ourselves in other initiatives and, working and then having 2 jobs, 3 jobs, we have the capacity to doing it, just going out and doing it. And I've been actually assisting and guiding more than a few coaches and people that want to get involved. They're like, Dampy, I want to put my kid in hockey. I'm like, yeah. So sign up as a jersey parent. Oh, okay. What does that mean? Well, you bring jerseys to the game. When they have a game, they have 12 games when they're 5 years old. They have 12 games because that's what the mandate is and all you're doing is bringing jerseys there, and you're helping out, and your kids will see that, and there's involvement there, right? So it's not too difficult to get involved. And I've had about probably 15 to 16 phone calls in the past 2 years. Debbie, my kids playing in this association, or how do I get involved? Well, this is how you should get involved, right? So,
and what does a time commitment look like as a parent if you have to volunteer?
Yeah, if you're a treasurer for a hockey, like you just, if there's fundraising, you collect the money. If there's a cash call, and sometimes there's a $200 cash call, you collect the money and you allocate the money to this tournament and send out emails that, okay, we use this many funds for this tournament and this many funds for that tournament. It's not difficult, right? It's
but if you have to put a number of hours on that.
The number of hours could be, in a given season, when it starts in, let's say, October, November, depends at the age level. It's not that much. It's maybe 40, 50 hours, right? Like throughout the whole thing. It's not, but when you see you're involved with your kids' hockey, it becomes priceless. It's not, I don't want to be cliche, but it's like you're helping kids' hockey team out and other kids, right? And, one of our, let's say Punjabi Sikhi, or in any religion, is seva karni, right? It's like you're just helping other people out, especially when kids are involved. You shouldn't be worried about too much about hours and stuff, because it's not that much. It's just organization and stuff. And
I think with South Asian communities or new immigrant families, like that's the one thing that I have experienced when I worked in Northeast quite a bit on the ground level, is a lot of people are doing two jobs. They're minimum paying jobs, and then they don't even have help for their kids at home sometimes, right? And they have to leave their kids home. Under 12, they have to leave the kids home by themselves because these parents are working two jobs a day just to survive. So those are realities some of these immigrant families are facing. Is there any does Apna Hockey, or is there any way do you have a message for them? Like parents who are unable to, it's not just that they don't want to, it's that they are unable to get their kids to hockey. They can't be a part of that hockey family.
Yeah. And that's a tough part. There's a very, very hard question to answer. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're, and it becomes like, some people go, you have to live within your means, right? But you're working two jobs. Everybody knows their financial situation and so forth, right? It's how much interest your kids show in hockey. It's got to be two-way street, right? Your parents have to show interest, the kids have to show interest, and I think it's a difficult question because, especially this day and age, the price of living is a little higher, and and parents that come,
especially as a new immigrant, right? You're setting up a new life altogether, and you don't, because I have experienced this, and I have seen families who are struggling, and like I said, they have to leave their kids at home unsupervised, and taking them to hockey, or taking them to any sport for that matter, is very difficult for them. So I feel like there's a need there that maybe Apna Hockey can explore that in the future, that there has to be a place where these parents or these families can also be supported. Of course, yes, people who can spare time, like myself, or people who are doing okay in their financially doing okay in their families, yes, they have the time to take their kids to hockey or any sport. But there are families, and those families are usually immigrant families or families in minority communities. I think something needs to be done to address that. That's just my personal take on it.
Like I said, it's a hard question because everybody has their case by case, right? Some families will be like, okay, I'll give up one of my jobs because I know in the evening time I can put my kid in hockey, right? If there's a great interest in hockey, right? So it's almost like it's a family choice. How Apna Hockey can come in, we've discussed this actually. Me and Lali have discussed this quite a bit. Like if immigrant families want to put their kids in hockey, and first is educating them, right? And I've talked to about 20 families that are from India, 2 or 3 years. They've come in, I'm working as a truck driver, so I'm a long haul driver, so I'm not home. My wife works at Superstore, or and this is what we have to do. I want to put my kids in hockey. So I think for that situation, that's where we want to do like beginner camps in Calgary, where it's a weekend. Hopefully the parents are available on the weekend, and allowing the new beginners, the fresh hockey players, or just want to try the game, right? Or even just to skate. All you need is a helmet, gloves, and if we can provide sticks, we can provide sticks and skates, and just get the kids out there. So that mindset of just involving the kids, and that will be at the grassroots level, right? So it'd be just kind of introducing to the sport, but it's just like anything, like working out, like, there's 12 hours of the day, or 14 hours a day, whatever time you get up. A lot of people want to work out, and they're like, but you have to take something out of your daily schedule to work out. It can't just be added on, because it takes time to go to and from to the gym. It's almost an hour and a half to 2 hour ordeal. So same thing with hockey is for parents that want to put their kids in hockey, something has to give for them to give them the option, because you can't, the kids have to go to sleep at 8 o'clock if it's on a, when they're in school and so forth. So the time frame from after school being, if they're home at 3:30, 4 o'clock to going to sleep at 8:30, you're looking at 4.5 hours of window, right? Does your occupation of your mother, of the dad and mom, allow that to happen, right? So sometimes it's just not in their means of doing that. But and that's where the weekend comes in, and that's where we want to do like beginner hockey sessions, right? And we're getting more inquiries now of people that are new to Canada, like they're 25, 28, 29, male and female, that want to learn how to skate. They're like, "Bhadi, ਅਸੀਂ skating ਸਿੱਖਣੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਸਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੇ?" ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ। ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਹੱਸਿਓ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਆਇਆ 2 ਸਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ try ਕਰਨੀ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਠੀਕ ਆ, right? And then so it's good, like the interest is coming, right? And it's going to progress more and more. And even females, like one lady came to Canada 2 years ago. She wants to learn how to skate, just to learn how to skate. And I go, yeah, no problem. I can help you out with that. And I'll get my wife out with her too, so be able to skate. And now outdoor rinks, there's no, there's some restrictions. We can get them out. So, but there is interest growing into skating, and that's the first step, right? So to help out the families, like we are looking into those ideas and try to get more and more Apnas involved.
Especially now in the pandemic, there's nothing else to do. If we have to get out, we have to put on skates and we have to skate. Like that's, if you live in Canada, I think that's one of the life skills everyone needs to have: skating and swimming, and those are the life skills you definitely need living in Canada, because what else do you do, right? Especially now in pandemic. All right, so that was a lot of serious discussion, and I'm glad that you addressed that, actually, because I wasn't thinking of asking you that question, but that is a real struggle. That is a real concern in a lot of in Apni communities, and I am so glad that you guys are addressing it and you are doing those camps. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm so happy. All right, so we've done pretty much all the serious talk that we had to do. So I'm going to ask you 3 fun questions, and then I will let you go. So who's a leader that you look up to?
It could be in sports or anything.
Anything.
Well,
any community, any,
Well, I got two types of leaders. Is first of all, obviously your parents, right? Because they led by example, and I've put me through to hockey. And I remember my dad working 12 hours at the coal mine, and I remember my dad was on night shift, and he came home on a Sunday. He comes home at 8 o'clock, and we're going to Cranbrook. Cranbrook's about an hour and a half away. Plus, we have to be there an hour early, and my game was at 12. And I go to my mom. I go, "मैं कितना hockey te jana कि Cranbrook game." कहते daddy लेके जाओगे? And I was like, I was only like 11 or 12, and but what the come to I right? Like he'll take you. And my dad got home. He ate breakfast. My mom is a pretty good cook, so she made breakfast and stuff. But John, let's go. And I'm like, all right. So he drove me to Cranbrook, and he was quiet because he came from a 12-hour shift, right? And went and played the game. Got home, I would say 12. Like I would think it was 4:30, 5 o'clock, and he had another night shift, and he had to be gone out of the house by 7. So he got home at 5:15, 5:30. I think he lay down on the couch, and then he was up again another 12 hours. He did. So he barely slept. And my mom's like, yeah, don't go on your dad's stuff. And you can't find better leaders than that. Like, and then, even my kids go, like, you drive around so much. Because on Saturdays, I get up in the morning. My daughter goes to hockey. So I take her there, come home. And then she has multi-sport there. So I wait there. Then she does that session. Then I come home, drop her off. Hour and a half later, Seva goes, his practice, his multi-sport, then come home, and they're like, don't you get tired? I'm like, if my dad didn't get tired after working 12 hours, how can I get tired, right? So I enjoy it. I learned lots from my parents, so I got to put them on the leader position. My mom was awesome. She always was very, very supportive. If my dad would be like, "Tu ain khidya, wo khidya, tu ain karna chahiye," I'm like, "Kuna, theek hai," when you right? And then she'd also say, "Yeah, thodi ain karya kar," right? So like they were really good at sports.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a younger brother that's in Edmonton.
And did he play hockey too?
He played 3 years of hockey and then he called it quits. But he played a lot of ball hockey at a high level and stuff. So he played, but he didn't play a lot of ice hockey. He plays men's league now, but nothing too serious. But and that's where I was lucky that I was the one person. He played a lot of. He was a great athlete in school. He's a good athlete now, but he was a great athlete in school, and he played really well in volleyball, track, basketball. He's a great basketball player, so the focus on hockey was on me, right? And so that was my true leaders have to be my parents. That's no question. And I think my other leader that I looked up to is Wayne Gretzky because he was 6 years old playing against 11-year-olds, and he was doing so well. He faced a lot of discrimination because of how good he was, and his grandmother would get mad because other team would be bullying him, they would be hitting him or being chippy with him, and she used to have a purse. And back then, obviously back in the 60s, they didn't have glass, so she had a purse and she would hit the other players if they were bullying their son. So he went through a lot, and I read his autobiography twice. I read a lot of books that he wrote or he was part of and talked about his struggles. And Wayne Gretzky not only played great hockey, but he was so smart during the game, and he was so methodical, and how much effort he put in and how much he was on the ice. So with my parents and Wayne Gretzky, I think those are some leaders I looked up to.
When you're talking about your parents, that reminded me of my parents too. I think that's a very typical immigrant family story, because I know when my dad started his new business, he has liquor stores here in Calgary, and he has a lot of real estate, like you said earlier. That's the one of the popular industries that our community is in. So when he first started his business, he was working literally 14 hours a week, 14 hours a day. And my mom used to go to McDonald's. She used to work McDonald's in the morning, and she had a Walmart shift in the evening. So this was in 90s. And my dad would come home at 2 a.m. after closing his liquor store. And my mom had to be in McDonald's at 6 a.m., I believe. And he dropped her off in the morning. So he would sleep for 3 hours from 2 to 5, and then he would go drop her off and come back home, and then he would sleep till 9 or 10, and then he'd be up again, eat his breakfast, and then he'd be back at his work. And my mom would take the bus home, or she'll go to Walmart, do her shift, and then she'll take the bus home, and she'll make dinner. And then that was our life for a few years. This was the beginning, like when you have those initial years of struggle, especially when you're setting up a new business. But I remember that, and I don't think, and my dad was probably my age, the age I am now. He was probably my age at that time. And I can't imagine living that lifestyle where you sleep for 3 hours and then you sleep for 2 more hours, and then you're literally living your day, and like, nothing's hard. But that's what you're trying to show your kids, that hey, anything is possible. And he made it possible from absolutely nothing. Today, he is a successful businessman.
Right.
And I believe the same. We can say the same about your parents as well.
Yeah, no, I think for both of us, like having that parental work ethic and what they did and how they did, and sometimes we're like, how would we be able to do that? You always question yourself because I don't. And but yeah, like having leaders like that in your family helps you. And Apna Hockey, I've always said that is, and both me and Lali give so much praise to our parents, and it's because of them that we do what we do, and we want to make sure that their name is is well respected. So I'm glad that you shared your story of how your parents, and it's very alike. So
yeah, I think it's a very typical immigrant story. And I don't think I'd be able to do what he does. But again, it's our story of every home. All right, so when your kids, let me ask you one more question here. So if I were to ask your wife to describe you in one word, what would that word be?
She's upstairs. I can ask her. Hopefully, it doesn't sit. My wife would say, I don't know. I hope she says more than one word. That's positive, right? So I'd say probably driven, perseverance, maybe, because she knows the things that I went through when I was younger, of some racial discrimination stuff. How my route to playing professional hockey wasn't like normal. I had to do the right things. I had a bad knee when I was 17. had 15 years of playing with a bad knee. I had even now I tore my ACL in both knees from playing ball hockey, and I had therapy, and I still play at a pretty high level. So I think perseverance would be pretty good because I've been dealt with some roadblocks, and we've kind of put them aside. And I think that would be the one word I think she used actually.
Let me call her. I'll call her tomorrow. Don't tell her, but I'll call her tomorrow and ask her.
No problem. I think that's the word she used when the Willie or Reeve, she nominated me. I think that's what she used. So that's yeah. So I know you use. Kids would say funny, right? Joker. I think that would be funny. I'd love to. They're upstairs. I'd love to bring them down and ask that question live. But I think something. I don't know. Something like I think I'm ending my cool stage because they're getting older, and I was really cool for them. A couple of years back, but now the jokes are normal, and I try to joke around. But I think being fun. I think one of the things my dad is known for is he's one dad that I can tell you that all the kids loved, right? They think he's cool. He's got a cool demeanor about him. He's got cool energy about him, right? And I think I replicate that, and I want to replicate that. And I think they would say fun. Like I'm strict, when I'm on the ice with them, but I'm also fun and joke around. So make it light. And I think in order to be able to give back to kids, like you have to have that certain personality. So I'm a kid at heart. Like I joke around all the time. And I'll tell you something funny. We're just on the ice probably an hour and a half ago, and my son goes, "Oh, did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Hear what?" And he farted. And he goes, and I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Well, that's what you do," right? So I'm rubbing off on my son in a positive way. So I think, like you joke around. I laughed out loud. I'm like, that's what I do, right? So, and then there's my daughter looking at me, going, "What am I doing with these two?" So I think fun dad type deal. My wife.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment. When your kids think you're fun, you're doing something right.
Yeah, so I was engaging with him, like play. They don't play too. He doesn't play too much Xbox or anything. But if he does, like, "Dad, you want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah." And my daughter will play. And if their friends come over, I'm like, "If you guys are gonna play board games, let me know and make them laugh." And I've you got to be kid at heart because when working with kids, you gotta have that. And I credit my dad to having those skills. And I think you can ask my friends to get along with all the young kids and stuff and have fun with it, right? It's life short, so it's fun.
So if I think I forgot to ask this, and I wanted to ask you this. So if a child in hockey today, an 8-year-old, let's assume that he or she is very talented, and they have to, or they aim to be an NHL one day, what is the path?
So I did get that question. I know you sent that to, and I said we'll answer that. When you're 8 years old, there's too much hockey to be played because you get drafted at the age of 18, right? And usually get drafted either from the WHL, which is the Calgary Hitmen level. You can also get drafted through NCAA, which is Div 1 colleges, right? So, and that's in the States. Sometimes you can get drafted in junior hockey, which is one level lower than the WHL, which is Alberta Junior Hockey or BC Junior Hockey. From the age of 8 to that level, to be drafted or to get when you get older, there's a lot of hockey and a lot of development. I don't think you can pinpoint a kid nowadays at the age of 8. I'm talking about year 2021, 2020, even if you go back 5 years and say this kid's going to be in the NHL. Some people have that 0.00000001% that you can say he's got a chance, right? Mm-hmm. Even players that get drafted in the first round in the NHL don't make it into the NHL. That's how crazy it is, right? There's a lot of players that have so much promise. They'll play really, really well and they don't get a chance, right? Like I said, World Juniors just happened over the Christmas holidays. Canada ended up losing to Team USA. Even out of those, 36 players, some of those players may not even make it to the NHL, and they play at the top level. So when you're 8 years old, the pathway would be that you for a kid. So that's that. So how would I answer that question? Well, when you're 8 years old, you're having fun with hockey. You're developing, you're making friends, you're interacting, you're getting comfortable. As you hit the age of 10, you're learning more about the game, more systematic stuff about the game, more skills. As you go up more in that, now you got to kind of decipher, does the kid still like hockey? Does he still want to play hockey? Because then you get faced with school sports, right? Because one of the things I'm an advocate about is don't just play hockey all the time. Try other sports. Being in Sparwood, I played every sport, and I played every sport at a pretty decent level, so a pretty good level. And even when Gurdeep met me, she's like, "You're good at every sport." I'm like, "I'm okay, right?" So, but like, but to put an 8-year-old and saying what pathway, there's so much hockey and so much development and so much stuff that goes on with the 8-year-old that we don't even know about. Like he might be the top of his game at the age of 15, and all the scouts like him. And he's like, I want to play basketball because he grew and he might be 6'3" or 6'4", or she might be like, you know what, I'd rather play volleyball or whatever. So there's so many intangibles that go in there. But enjoying the game, wanting to get better, wanting to work on the game, that's what we want to instill in kids. And a lot of hockey is taught away from the ice rink. It's not even on the rink. Hockey starts at home, sometimes leading up to the rink, in the dress rooms. If the kid does not, like I played pro hockey, so all my friends are like, oh, your son might make it here or here. It's a tough road. Doesn't matter how much experience I have. Doesn't matter how much knowledge I might have or whatever. The game is so competitive now. Every kid is good. Every kid is getting extra training. So, but if it's in the back of their head that I like the game, I want to get, and that's eventual goal. I will never take the goal of making it into the NHL from any kid. I think the opportunity is there. Is how much work you're willing to put in on the ice, off the ice, and how much love you have for the game and how much passion. That's what's going to take you to a level that you want to get to.
I think that's a fabulous closing statement. Thank you so much for your time, Dampy. Really appreciate it. Who is going to win tonight? That's one of the questions that just came. Canucks or Flames?
Well,
Oilers or Habs too? What?
Oilers and Habs. Okay, I didn't know that they were playing today, to be honest with you. This might tick off some people, but I've always been a non-Flames fan. I do like some of their players, but I'm an Oilers fan. So second team, my favorite team is the Canucks, to be honest with you, because I'm from BC. So my parents are the same way. My mom and dad love watching hockey. They're not. They don't like to watch too much Indian.
And what about your wife and kids? Wife
likes Calgary. Son likes Vegas. Daughter hopefully likes everything I like, because I think she likes McDavid, and I like she has a soft spot for me. Going, oh, I like what Dad likes, but she does have the soft spot for Save House. She's like, oh, I like Vegas too. I'm like, all right. And but I stay away from the Calgary conversation. A lot of my friends know that, and I hope Vancouver wins, and obviously I hope Edmonton wins. But all in all, I'm so glad that the NHL is back. I think the game is so good. The players are so good. And I think it gives, we are at home because of the pandemic, and it's a good time for families to understand the game. And I urge them, from being on this segment with you, is that if any parents need any assistance or even knowledge, or even if they want to talk about hockey, what's the Fedaki hockey, the Gimme hockey with Joaquin Luna, John Cardona, whatever the situation is, I'm more than happy to help with that and answer all those questions as well.
Thank you so much, Dampy. Really appreciate your time. Yeah. We have 4 minutes until the game starts. So Thank you once again, and we'll chat soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye. Bye. All right. So that was Dampy Brar, and we will be back tomorrow again at 6 p.m. Like I say, we're here Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm going to be back tomorrow with another episode of Ideas on Point. It'll be Stories That Matter. We'll be talking to 2 unconventional women who have careers in real estate. So please, please, please come back here tomorrow. I'll talk to you then. Have a good night.